Hello.
Hi, Dr. Corona. How are you?
Good. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
So if you could talk to us about, how many years have you seen me now?
It's got to be probably like 15,
Wow.
16 years.
Wow, you're a veteran.
Yeah, my son is 17 now, so I started seeing you shortly after he was born.
Yeah, so take us back in time and let us know kind of where this all started and kind of walk us forward.
Well, after my son was born, everything was really stressful. Now I'm remembering it. He was 1. It was his birthday party, and I had been dealing with headaches and just body pain and fatigue. And, I'd seen a doctor who immediately said, after the second visit that I have fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. So he gave me an antidepressant, and he gave me, the full amount.
Do you remember which one?
It was one of the newer ones. It wasn't Prozac but I think it was an SNRI.
Okay.
But I started out with the highest dose, and it just made me feel horrible. And so I called their office and told them that, and he's just too busy, It's kind of a poorly run office. So I had a friend that was in the mom's club with me, and her son was the same age as I was, or as my son was, and she had some marital problems.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just so depressed, like life was just ending for her. And she ended up seeing you, and then she told me about it. And because she said she just feels like she's never felt better in her life. So then that's when I started coming to you, and you started me off immediately with Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started feeling better immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And, the knots in my back went away, my headaches. At that time I was actually getting Botox shots for, all my migraines. They were like mild migraines, but they were every day. And that was helping. So my back was feeling better, and, all the pain, all the knots went away. I didn't feel like I had fibromyalgia anymore. And my mood was much better.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy again. And then, so I was taking that for a long time, and then I, was kind of, after a while, I was like, well, I'm not depressed anymore. I don't really need to take this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried stopping, and I didn't realize that if you're going to be stopping medicine, you should do it slowly. I just kind of did it cold turkey.
Right.
And my head just felt weird. Like if I turned my head, I felt like my brain was slowly catching up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that feeling at all. I didn't realize it was because I stopped taking that. But after I talked to you, you were like, well, why do you want to stop doing it? And I'm like, well, I just don't want to take pills anymore, and I'm not depressed. But then once I did that, my back pain started up again,
right.
Really bad. And, that's when I realized, this is helping my back pain a lot. So then I went back on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, if I would forget to take it, I would immediately notice it like the next day, because I would feel weird,
Mm-hmm.
And then I would remember, oh yeah, that's because I didn't take my medicine. So then I thought, well, maybe I can do something different and something that's less expensive too, because I didn't have any insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So you put me on Cymbalta, and so I took that for a while, and it wasn't as good as Prestige, like,
mm-hmm.
Regarding back pain. And then I didn't have much energy, It just wasn't as good, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you had me go back to Prestige, and, I went back to how I was feeling before.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Better, I think you said better energy, physically feeling better, back pain better, all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I went back to that, and it was great. And then, I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you were talking about how you don't want people just to feel fine, you know, or better than before. You want people to feel amazing.
Yeah.
And that made me think, yeah, I don't feel amazing. I feel just fine. Like I'm tired. I don't have much energy. I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. And I was drinking every night, and not to the point where I'm a stumbling alcoholic, but enough for my son to say something to me.
Right.
And so that's when I decided to talk to you about it, and then you prescribed me some
Rexulti, yeah.
And so now I'm on my 4th day of that, and I'm feeling better. I have more energy. I want to get out of bed in the morning, and it's not hard for me to get out of bed in the morning, and I'm in a better mood as well, and it's like it's like I'm feeling more of everything, like more of life. Like I think before, everything's just kind of dull. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but it's like
no, that's perfect.
Opening up my world a little bit more.
Yep.
Emotionally.
Well, again, I with doing a lot of prescribed. Well, that's what I do. But what I've found that most people, one medication is not enough. And it's very difficult to get past the I don't want to take anything. I don't want to take it for very long. I hear it a lot, but the reality of the situation is, I can't remember the details of your genetics, but tell me about your genetics. Is there a pattern in the family anywhere?
Yeah, my dad, he had a tendency to drink too much, and so my mom would always give him a hard time about it, and then he wouldn't do it so much anymore, And when I was growing up, they would have a drink. They would have something every night, like wine, and then they make a cocktail before going to a party, and so that's just something that I, normalized, and ended up doing the same thing, as I got older. And so my mom, she had some depression issues, but she also, survived cancer, and so I don't know if she started taking antidepressants after that or what. But I do have a brother who was undiagnosed as like maybe OCD or schizophrenic. I mean, he had so many issues.
Yeah.
But he refused to go get help anywhere. And he drank a lot, and he's a hoarder. And he ended up having to get his liver, get a donation.
Wow.
Liver donation replacement. What's the word I'm looking for?
Transplant.
Liver transplant.
Yeah.
And so I offered my house to him to live with me during his recovery process. And I had no idea how bad he was. I mean, he did not want to go. He didn't want to take showers. And, when I asked him why, and he's like, because I can't stand it. It's like I'm a cat, And I just didn't understand that at all. I thought he was just making something up. But he was really bad. And then he ended up passing away because he had cancer that they didn't see before the liver transplant. And,
yeah.
So, and then my other brother is an alcoholic, and he has a lot of difficulties, with
yeah. So you've definitely got genetics, and see, genetics is often kind of hidden because people are like, well, I don't think they do. Well, my brother was alcoholic. Well, my dad drank every night when you go home. See, I mean, sometimes it's subtle because back then, that generation, we didn't really these things weren't really talked about in that way. The way we know things now. I mean, the modern antidepressants, starting with Prozac, really. I mean, that wasn't until the late '80s, really. And so back in the day, They just, just people didn't really understand what we meant by self-medicating. And back then, I mean, we have so many more choices nowadays when it comes to drugs and stuff. Back then, alcohol had been around for a long time, so that was really the addiction. That and smoking were the addictions back in the day.
Yeah, they smoked as well.
Right, exactly.
But then they stopped. When
Right.
all the news came out.
Right. And some people will get a transplant and then they go, hey, I got a new lease on life. I got a new liver, so now I can drink again. So some people.
Oh yeah, no. Well, he didn't drink anymore.
Right.
He actually quit drinking before, for years, like maybe 6 years before the transplant.
Mm-hmm.
But he did start smoking again.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. And then he got cancer, right?
Well, that was hidden. I mean, he'd always smoked.
Yeah, but smoking will, not just lung cancer, smoking can increase the risk of other cancers. So there may be there might be some component of the smoking as far as the cancer.
It was something to do with his back.
Oh, like maybe bone cancer?
I don't know. They're not clear on it. It's kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
But it was something. He has a lot of back pain.
Yeah. I think with you, before I gave you the Rexulti, I think I tried Wellbutrin, and that didn't work out well. That's why I pulled that and put the Rexulti in. But I think, which also works on dopamine in a little bit different way. But so I think you're going to be. I mean, you're only on day 4 today. So I think you're on the lowest dose. You're probably going to feel even better by next week if we get the dose up a little bit more average. Actually, you're going to be going up to from 0.5 milligram up to 1 milligram, which is a pretty still low dose, but 1 milligram is probably the most common dose that people end up on, either 1 or 2 milligram with Rexulti. It also comes in 3 and 4 milligram. Most people don't end up there. And most people, it's higher than 0.5, but we'll see with you. It might be 0.5. We'll see. We'll see by next week. So. Yeah. Yeah, but.
Oh yeah, and still having some back pain. So that hasn't completely gone away yet either.
Okay. Well, we're going to work on that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great. I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think really appreciate it. And I'm going to explain to the audience what the difference between Cymbalta and Brustique now that you've talked about this. So it's I think, like I said, you just said, we don't want to be stuck in the fine zone. When I see people know what the friend zone is like. Oh, that girl, I really like her, but now we're friends. Now it's too awkward, and now I was going to go for her, but now it's that's the friend zone. Okay, so the fine zone is like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you better than you were? Yeah, I'm better than I was. Are you doing great? I don't know about great, but I'm okay. And then people fight me on changing things. Well, let's do this. Let's increase the dose. No, I think I'm good here. Let's add some of this on. Oh, no. I don't want to add anything. I think I want to be on one thing. So this is the problem sometimes when people get stuck in that fine zone because they're happier than they were out of where they were. And in comparison, they think, well, I'm better than where I was. I'm happy here. This I feel comfortable at. And I feel comfortable only taking one medication. And so people limit kind of in a sense where they can actually go. So hopefully I'm pretty good at talking people into things after doing it this long and trying to say, look, just try this. Try some samples. Give it a shot. You have nothing to lose. And either it works or it doesn't work. But more often than not, people do it, and all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, now I know what you mean, and then they get to that excellent zone, and then they don't want to go back. So anyway, but I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been a pleasure being your doctor, and I look forward to many more years. So.
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
I mean, you've made a huge difference in my life.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
So hers is a really interesting case. It's interesting for several reasons. So when I first saw her, again, she said that her previous doctor put her on an SNRI. So maybe they did put her on something, but maybe they put her on Cymbalta starting at 60, or Effexor starting at 75, or I'm not sure, or Prestique starting at 50. So what happens, a lot of doctors, they start things too high. I mean, in the company will often say a certain dose to start it at, something at, but I usually go half of that. Whatever the company says to start with, I usually do half of it, because it's sometimes too quick. Or sometimes doctors, well, most people end up at this dose, I'm just going to start there. You never do that. You never, ever do. You always start low and go gradual. And, because the problem is you do that one time, you turn the person off. They say, see, this is why I don't want to do this stuff, and then they might leave. You never see them back again. So this might be someone who's completely lost the treatment because you made a bad decision with the dosing, and that's a bad situation. So, and that's sad. So in her case, I put her on Prestique, my top product. So serotonin, norepinephrine. Okay. I typically start at 25, even though the company says start at 50. Then I go up to 50 for a week, and then I might go up to 100. And in her case, she ended up at 100, which is it's usually 50 or 100. One of those two doses is the most common, but sometimes 25. So the only problem sometimes with Prestique is that if you don't take it, sometimes even a half a day to a day, these receptors open up and then the chemicals start going the wrong way. And so that withdrawal effects that she was describing, and it can be that's kind of that off-balance feeling where you turn your head, and then some people it's like kind of tracers, or kind of like electrical shock feelings you're feeling, and so people they don't like it. The thing about Prestique and Effexor is they're SNRIs, but they're a little bit stronger at the norepinephrine site and a little bit weaker at the serotonin site. So Cymbalta, it doesn't have as bad of a withdrawal effects. So I put her on Cymbalta, which is an SNRI, but it's stronger at the serotonin site. It's a little bit more even between the two. And she did pretty well with it, and she was on it for a while. But then when she talked to me about her energy and her pain was coming back, I took her off Cymbalta, put her back on Prestique. I just went, and in her case, I went right to 100. I didn't start low. I knew what she took before. I looked in her chart to see that. I put her right on 100, and she did better very quickly. But then when I started talking to her more about her energy, but then the drinking, and which is a symptom of stress. So if you're stressed out, you're going to do that. And again, Rexulti, I know I say I don't like to advertise on things too much, but Rexulti again works on dopamine, and it's a dopamine antagonist. It works on dopamine. It slows it down a little bit. So what that means is dopamine was going a little bit too fast. It also works a little bit on the serotonin site. And what that's going to do potentially is help with stress, help with energy, just feeling better. So again, when I talk about the fine zone, so let's say someone was here and they get to here, okay, and they feel like, well, this is, compared to here, this is great. I'm happy here. Then I try to get them to here, and then they fight me. Sometimes, or most of the time I talk them into it, and then now they get to here. Okay, now they're thinking, okay, well, this is great. And I tell them, I remind you, I say, well, you want me to take you, remember you wanted to go back to, you wanted to stay here? No, keep me here. So when they see that there's a there, they didn't even think about it. They didn't think they could feel that. They didn't think that was possible. But that's the difference when you add things together. You can go start here, you can go to here, you can go to here. Sometimes here with one, here with a second one, here with a third medication. So it doesn't matter about the amount of medications, in my opinion. It's not about the number of medications. It's about the results. And when people realize that these are not addictive products, they're not bad for you, they're not. And then people say, well, how are they not addictive? If I stop taking them, I feel like crap. Well, that's not addiction. It means they stop working. If you take these things away, everything starts going the wrong way. But again, you got to look at, if someone stops insulin, they feel lousy because their sugar shoots up. Are they addicted to insulin? Well, no, I don't think so. But you could make that argument, I guess. But the whole point is, if you don't treat a medical condition, it'll come back. If you don't treat a low thyroid and take the thyroid supplement away, the thyroid starts to drop down. So it's like anything in medicine. If you stop treating something, then you're not going to get good results. Now with Prestique, what she had to learn was you just don't miss it. Okay, you keep it part of the routine. So what I tell patients is, keep it with your morning stuff. So when women always have stuff on the sink, right? So what I tell them is put it with your stuff. So that way, whenever you're doing your makeup or whatever you're doing, you have the bottle right there. You take it as part of the routine of your day. And then also I tell people to get a little pill box or something, put a few in that, so that just in case you leave the house and you forget, you have it in your purse, and then you have a reserve supply. Then when those are out, you repack it again. So that's, so if you do just a couple simple things like that, then that can get around the whole thing about missing. And because when you miss it and you start to feel those withdrawal effects, as soon as you take it within minutes to maybe a half hour at the most, you feel right back to normal again. So hers is a really good case because there's a lot of subtlety here with her as far as the difference between these medications, the importance of not dosing too high, because like in her case, if she would have been turned off by that first doctor who did that, she may not have come see me. She might have said, no, I don't want that. And she might be not at a good place at this point in her life, because, there's most people like her don't ever get this stuff treated and live their life not knowing any better and just suffering. And that's all they know, which is a sad situation in my opinion. So. But anyway, that's I'm really happy that she's now doing really well. And with the Rexulti, we'll see with the dosing on that if we can do better with increasing it next week. So we'll get, and I might have her come back in a couple of weeks after we do that, so she can give us an update. Yeah. So and the other thing, the last thing with her is that she also takes Adderall, which she's been taking for years. She has a long history of ADD. People who have ADD, it's pretty much a lifelong condition. They typically have it when they're younger. Some people, didn't treat it when they were younger because they didn't even have medications around back then, or they just didn't treat it very often. So in her case, the stimulant is going to really get things moving this way. Now in her case, when I put Wellbutrin in, trying to boost dopamine, and that didn't work out for her. She got side effects, didn't feel good on it. It's probably because she didn't really need that because she's already taking Adderall. So Adderall's already boosting the dopamine forward. So now what the Rexulti is doing here is kind of just settling it down, not to the point where it takes away the effectiveness of the Adderall, but to the point where it's calming. It calms the anxiety. The Adderall might be a part of that. But if we take away the Adderall, that's not good either. So we want to have the best of all worlds. So that with her, it's a combination of three things, the Prestique, the Adderall, now the Rexulti, and now we're going to get that. And again, the whole key is to get this perfect balance in place where everything is flowing properly, nothing's going too fast here, nothing's going too slow there. That's the perfect balance that we're looking for. So, and then we'll probably have her come back on in a couple of weeks or so to see what happened with the Rexulti. But she's a really good example of a couple of things, simple things. Well, I don't want to be on three things. I want to be on one thing. Well, how good do you want to feel? Okay. You have to think, it's not about the number of medications. People will be on blood pressure medication, heart medication, cholesterol medications, thyroid. Never think twice about it. Why? Because there's, people say, well, the numbers, my cholesterol was high, my blood pressure. So people can see numbers and lab results, and it makes it look more real because people think, well, I can see it on paper, that makes sense. This is why what I do with all my patients is I draw these diagrams, and I think rather than a doctor saying, here, just take this pill, I explain that I think what's going on is you have a leak here, here, here. This is fixing that leak. So I actually do these diagrams with my patients. Then I go back to them later and I explain to them, okay, this is what I'm thinking now. And then I kind of redo the diagram again. But that's why I put it on, because it's a visual thing with patients. When they see what I'm trying to do, they say it makes sense now. And then when I go back and explain, this is why you're feeling better, because this is what was happening. That visual is great. Just like, so instead of having a lab result, a blood pressure result, EKG, something else that you can see visually, this is the visual. And people appreciate it. And when people understand things like this, the compliance is usually better too.